Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Today, brothers and sisters, we are blessed to hear the testimony of a young FOI. He's a motivational speaker, he's a weightlifter, and he has a young fly style of his own as well. I'm honored to have our brother, Saad Muhammad, as a guest here on I Have a Testimony.
Why isn't Elijah Muhammad talk about? If people talk about Elijah Muhammad, you don't really hear young people mentioning that. And this man literally produced three of the most powerful black men on the planet as far as teaching: Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a third grade education. Yeah. And people don't know that.
So assalamu alaikum, dear brother, and thank you for accepting our invitation here on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So we're going to get right down to it, man. And so let's begin. I want to begin by asking you, what inspired you to start going hard in the gym on the weights, or as they say in the gym, that iron, and what is your ultimate goal?
Yes, sir. I want to first start off and say, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Father Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his true servant. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine reminder in our midst. I would like to greet the believers and all of my friends, family tuning in across the world. In the greeting words of peace, we say in our Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. Peace, what up? This is Bro Saad. To answer your question, Brother Willie, honestly, I started lifting weights when I was like 15, and I played sports in middle school. My uncle Steve, he used to take me to the park, not so far from our house, and we used to do a lot of calisthenics or whatnot. I didn't like lifting weights, honestly. I wasn't strong at it. I didn't even have what they'll say the genetics really at the time to even, bear this strain. But I was always athletic. I played football, ran track. I did boxing. At that time, I didn't have the mental strength to understand the discipline that it took to stay consistent with those sports. So I was kind of bouncing all over the place. But the crazy thing is, when I started lifting weights, I gained a stronger mentality. It sounds crazy, but it's so true. It helped me out in so many different ways in my life. And I'm grateful for that discipline, because it allowed me to take that and to, spill it over to other aspects in my life.
Praise be to Allah. And it's interesting you said that the mental strength, because, I've noticed you bench press some heavy pounds, brother, squats as well. So I'll be checking you out. And some people think that being able to do so is all about muscles, and people don't realize how mentally strong one must be. So what has weight training taught you about your own mental strength?
It's taught me patience, have faith, not to be afraid, but to also be afraid. And what I mean by that is you have to understand it takes time to build not only your body, but, the maturity in your muscles to get to a certain point. So you have to kind of break down and build back up in order to get and stay at a certain point. And it takes consistency and it takes time. A lot of people could, be in the gym for a certain period of time and maybe get to their goal, but they won't stay at their goal if they're not training properly, if that makes sense. So me, kind of taking a step back and knowing that, okay, let me build up the endurance so I'll be able to do this years from now. It took time, it took some patience, and it took some people around me to help me out with that, and stay consistent, because it's very frustrating. You have to be willing to put in 100% effort and sometimes only getting 25% results. out of that. So it's definitely a strain, but it's a beauty in the journey, because when you see and you grow and see that, yo, this can really happen, and you start hitting your goals and stuff, it's super motivating.
How has Islam, as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, help you in your training?
Faith. Faith. I remember the Honorable Minister Elijah Muhammad said we only just need a faith as a mustard seed. It's it takes that, and takes discipline. Being growing up in the nation and being in the nation of Islam, we have a certain discipline about ourselves, and taking that training that we've gotten, and are using and applying it to physical training. Um, it's a task, and you have to really want to do it in order to succeed in it. So and being steadfast, also being patient, and being able to sacrifice, all the things that we are taught, in our lessons, just applying that just to this sport, it helped out a lot, and keeping that mentality. Yeah, yes, sir.
I was looking at that picture to show you, I guess, I don't know if it's called a deadlift or whatever, man. People are looking at
Yes,
you
sir.
in the gym like they're looking at God. And I also
Yes,
see
sir.
that it is look like that you're looking at God. And then I also see, oh, they're looking at God, which they are. I also see that there's the picture you were holding some awards. So have there been some awards that you have won?
Yes, sir. I honestly, out of all the sports that I've played, these are the first awards I've ever received.
Mm,
So that's a blessing. I received a few medals, and I received a few trophies in the best lift, in each category that I participated in. At that time, it was deadlift and bench press. Being that my size was a lot smaller, I had got the
mhm.
overall win with those lifts. So yes, sir.
So how like to to be able to develop like you're developing and get the strength that you're getting, like how often do you work out?
Um, as of right now, doing being that I've been going into the powerlifting, I train 3 to 4 weeks. At one part of like once upon a time, I was doing like 4 to 5, and I was just developing my body to look a certain way. But now
Mhm.
that I'm strength training, it takes a whole nother type of method in order to stay strong. It's just like a difference. And you need to recover just as much as you're training. So
Mhm.
that's just as much as important, or you won't be able to compete at the level, at that level, and perform well. So 3 weeks, I mean 3 days. Sometimes it's 3 days out of the week, sometimes it's four. It just all depends on the training block.
And you spend about how much time in the gym when you do those on a
Powerlifting,
day? Yeah,
powerlifting, it takes like 2.5, 3 hours, and I know it sounds crazy, but the rest periods are
really.
longer.
Mm,
Yes, sir. The rest periods are longer because you need that gap in order to recover for your next set, because everything is just power. Everything is heavy. So you need your 4 to 5 minutes to recover each set. And then you have a lot of accessories that come after, the heavy lifts. So it takes about 2.5, 3 hours. I try to knock out my stretching before I go to the gym. And sometimes
mm.
I'll go to the track before I go to the gym to just keep the blood flowing. And then as soon as I get to the gym, I just start my warm ups before I start the heavy lifting.
And do you find that whole training and just the whole process is it a stress release for you as well?
Yes, sir. It is. It takes my mind like totally in a whole other area. Like I don't answer phone calls when I'm in the gym. I don't respond to really text messages. It's just like a getaway from everything.
Mm.
Um, in that time period, from that 2.5, 3 hours, I'm like, it's just me, you know. And that I will say that has been consistent, and sometimes I've been needing that, So
Mm.
it's definitely a stress reliever.
And are you working by yourself or you have a trainer? Like how do you come up with your routine?
I actually have a trainer. It's a guy named Marcus. He's actually like 26 years old, 27, and
Hmm.
he's like top. He's like number 9 in the world in his weight
Mm.
class. Um, what made me go to him was being that I wanted to, increase my training. And I seen that he was pretty good and, and successful into it, and I wanted to learn those techniques. I was always strong, and I had a base and foundation, but in order to succeed in the powerlifting, I needed to go and get under someone that has done it, because it's a total difference. You can be strong, but this teaches you how to keep power. So it's a difference. And he's been helping me out. So I coach and I have a coach. So I'm learning and I'm also feeding, at the same time. So that's
Beautiful,
the
man.
blessing.
It's that being a teacher and also being a student. So we're coming up on our first break, brothers and sisters who are watching. For those who are watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're hitting the like button as well to build up our analytics. And make sure you're encouraging other people to tune into this interview. We'll be right back with our brother Saad Muhammad, to continue this interview.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters, and we're here with our interview with our brother Saad Muhammad, and he talked about his weight training. I want to make a transition. In addition to your weight training, I also noticed you have a sense of style on your social media page,
Sir.
man. And I would imagine that some who know you outside of the Nation of Islam, they may initially be shocked by you always having, they tend to think that we always have a suit on. But can you talk about how our sense of flyness does not have to be buried just because we are Muslims in the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. What's crazy. I grew up in public school. I wasn't so of course I didn't wear a suit to school. When in middle school I had uniform, high school, with regular clothes. And I always had a little, passion for fashion a little bit. That was just kind of my thing. And I would watch certain people like, Fabulous, certain rappers and stuff, just seeing how they just put things together, and that, kind of attracted me in a sense. So I've kind of always had it in my mind. And it's kind of I could say about my style, it kind of fits my personality and who I am as a person. You might see me a lot of brighter colors, because I feel like my spirit is bright. I'm like an ongoing person. So it just kind of compliments how I am on the inside. But suits I've been wearing all my life, going to the mosque, going to FOI class, and going to our weekly meetings on Wednesdays and Fridays. So that's a sense of style too. So as I got older, and when I was able to get newer things, I was like, man, I'm about to put it together on all levels. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's
But
beautiful, man.
I would say some people, they see, of course, they know us and our signature, the bow ties and the suit, because that's what we represent as a unit. The sisters, of course, wearing their garments or whatnot. Um, I would say that's our work uniform for sure. But nobody's at work 24 hours. So, I mean, we have a class C, like a chill, outfit or something that we, can put on to like, show more of ourselves. Um, and that's just that. So, that's what I would say
It's
to the ones
beautiful,
that,
man. I recently read something where they talked about people who wear colors and bright colors. They tend to be more happy. So that's a blessing, man, that you realize that it is a part of your personality and you're not afraid to show it. And I
so
thought about, you mentioned about how being born in a nation. That leads me to my next question. How grateful are you about your parents' decision to join the Nation of Islam, which have provided you the blessing, of being born in the nation?
yes, sir. And I can't even repay my parents for so much that they blessed me and my siblings with and sacrifice with bringing us into the nation, into this beautiful thing. My mother was actually born into the nation.
Wow.
My grandmother and my grandfather found Islam together. They were
Mm,
actually married before converting into Islam. They both was police officers in New York,
mm.
and uh at right from to this day they've now marked 40 years in the nation of Islam. Praise be to Allah. But they found Islam. My grandmother, she said she was a little girl, in New York, and she used to see the messenger drive down the street in his limousine, and the
Mhm.
brothers would flank the cars from the outside. And she would see the brothers on the corner and stuff trying to get her to come out. And just one day she just gave in. She said, um, and my grandfather, same thing when they got married. Then they just, both converted over. Uh, the discipline was different. Being younger, I didn't really fully understand like what I was really a part of until I got older and seen like, understood what my parents are currently doing and have done, and sacrifice, to for us to have this living and way of life. And it's nothing better. I tell everybody Islam is not a religion, it's a way of life.
Mm.
It's so pure, and the mindset and the way of living is super different from the world. You know, so it's definitely a blessing, and I appreciate my parents for it and my grandparents for sure.
Wow. That's a blessing, man. So that makes you're a third generation Muslim, huh? From your
Yes, sir.
grandparents, your mother. Praise be to Allah. And so that I'll ask you this question, man. When I joined the Nation of Islam, we didn't have social media, we didn't have the internet. So how do you navigate as a young Muslim while growing up in this, social media age, being a Muslim and living in this social media age?
Um, I will say I just take social media for social media, if that
Mm,
makes sense. I don't really put too much emotion behind it and stuff. I know things can tend to get like blown out of proportion about things. Social media is one of those things where you can make anything be whatever you want it to be,
mm,
whether it's truth or lies. And being that's the case, um, I never really like as far as the youth in the world, I never shamed them for not knowing and understanding my way of life and how I perceive things, because this whole world is based off lies,
mm,
and it's easier to accept a lie, and a lie holds more weight in this time than the truth.
mm.
Um, so just being me, who I am, it's like the minister say, the messenger says, put a clean glass next to a dirty glass. It's going to show for itself. Your works and the person you are is just going to show. It's going to spread out. It's not really much you have to do, as long as you're being a reflection of what you've been taught. Everything else will fall into place, and you'll gain friends and doors are open for you.
Good, good, man. It's a beautiful response. And I'll get to our next question. We're going to display a picture for and that I came across. This is of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I believe the woman that he's with is your mother, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
so can you share with us how this this moment came about and the words the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan shared with you and your mother and your family at that time?
Yes, sir. That was a Savior's Day. I was holding posts. I was working inside the minister's room suite and holding posts for the weekend. And it was just long days, working inside the minister's suite. You're not going to the events or you didn't go to the Sunday lecture. I had to stay there and be prepared for his return. So that was my post. That day that my mother was able to come up to the suite, it was her birthday, and I asked permission to Brother D9. I asked him, and will it be okay if she came up and my sister came up to greet the minister? And at that time, the minister was accepting guests. I believe people were coming in to see him, and he made it happen. And that was like one of the biggest birthday gifts I ever gave to her, which is, was a blessing. The minister, he seen her, and in that moment, he didn't know that was my mother until we got a little closer and then seen the resemblance. And then the minister, he had pointed at me. He was like, he's been on post. He's been working hard. And he, asked about my grandfather and how he was doing. And, asked about my stepfather and my brothers or whatnot. So it was a beautiful moment.
I know I can see in your mother's face, she was elated, and
yes, sir.
that is a blessing, man, to be able to arrange that type of meeting between her and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, man. So
Yes,
while we still have some time before we get into our break, can you talk about the impact of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on your life?
Yes, sir. So some people may not know, I was actually named by the minister from birth. Yes, sir. He named me Saad Muhammad. So my grandfather requested, asked if he could give me my mother a name for me. And at the time, the minister didn't respond right at the moment that I was born. So my father named me Isa originally. So that's the name that's on my birth certificate, Isa. Those that don't know Isa, this means Jesus in Arabic. So when the minister finally responded and gave the name Saad, I've always been called by that Saad, but Isa's still on my birth certificate and on paperwork and or whatnot. So me growing up and knowing that I when I was younger, people said, my mother and my father say, you was named by the minister. I'm like, why didn't you name me? I didn't really understand, why I got this name for such man, this powerful man, until I got older and looking up what the meaning of my name means. It means truthful God and one who's long suffering, and it's in the Quran. So from that day forward, me really understanding who the minister is and the impact he has on our people, it was an honor. And I'm like, wow, for him to come up with a name, I know Allah put it on his heart to name me this name. So now I have to find out why. And I'm still finding out why. I'm walking into it, I'm living up to my name. So that was the first impact. My first encounter with the minister that I can recall, I was 14 years old, and it was my first time holding posts out of town, and it was in Winston-Salem. And my grandfather was always, with the minister, and I wanted to roll. I was just fascinated on how the brothers rolled. All the brothers were so tall, big, and they was just, moving fast, and they were in the motorcade cars, and it was just so exciting just looking at that view from afar. At the time, I don't remember the exact situation, but I don't believe old enough to hold the post that I'm holding that now. So Brother D9, he seen me and he asked me, what's your assignment? And I said, I don't have one. And he said, he didn't say nothing. He came back to me and he was like, I want you to sit in the back seat on one of the cars, the flank cars, in the minister's motorcade. So that was just mind blowing for me. That was crazy. So the minister's coming out. We're driving in the car. He's going into his first lecture. He had 2 speeches that day. The first lecture, I believe, was at a hotel, and we driving, and I'm just like, I'm sitting next to my grandfather in the car. It's mind blowing. Like these brothers really looking up to them. They were like our superheroes growing up. We didn't really, you know, um, so just being around these brothers was just, fascinating to me. Brother Supreme and some of the other brothers and pioneers. Um, and later that night, we came back to the hotel. I was with them the whole day. Like I was walking, standing strong, standing on post. I was with them the whole day. And we came back to the hotel room. I'll never forget. And I remember us going through this door and me and my grandfather getting checked before going inside the minister's room. And uh, a brother called my grandfather and said, the minister's waiting for you. So, I just stand by the door because I know he's not talking to me, talking to my grandfather. My grandfather tells me to come on. So we walk in the room, and literally the minister's sitting in a chair, like looking at the television. So when I walk in, we're looking at his back. So my heart just like drops. It's it's like crazy. I'm like, this is the minister. So I have a seat on the couch, and he has a seat. And the minister and my grandfather started exchanging words and talking. And that was the exact day that my grandfather got his name, Abdul Aziz, and the minister
Wow.
named my grandmother, Aziza Muhammad. And I never seen my grandfather like cry or like shed a tear or like emotion towards anything. So that was like different. And that
Mm.
day, my grandfather, I believe he got up, and the minister was looking at me, asked me my name. He was just asking me he was asking me different questions like, what did I want to do when I got older? What am I doing now? What's my goals and stuff? And I was like 14 years old. I didn't have really no straight answers at the time. I gave
Mm.
him an idea of what I wanted to do. And he was just telling me to keep soldiering and, keep being a soldier for Muhammad. And
Mm.
ever since then, like that moment was priceless. I have a picture of it I have to share with you. And I never forgot. And ever since then, I went and hit the ground running when I went back home. That was a
Praise be
blessing.
to Allah. And man, hey, I just learned. I didn't know that the minister named you, and that's the purpose of these interviews. So look, we're coming up, and
So
I'm glad you closed off talking about your grandfather because we want to talk more about that, and we'll do that
so
after this next break. So you all who are watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're sharing this interview, and we'll be back after these announcements.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com. Online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. 2022 through 23 enrollment waiting list open now. Visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Yes, and we're back, brothers and sisters, with to continue our interview with our brother Saad Muhammad, and he talked about how he got his name, and he talked about his grandfather. And I really pay attention to people's social media, my brother, and I can tell from your social media that you have a great love for your grandfather. And our brother's going to pull up the picture, and I would just like you to take a moment and just talk about your love and your admiration for the man you're pictured with in this photograph, which you told us that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan named him Brother Abdul Aziz Muhammad.
Yes, sir. My grandfather in the nation, some people may know him from his previous name, Minister William, Brother William, Captain William. He was the captain in New York at the time, back in the day. Some know him as Robo. Growing up, my grandfather was like a father figure to me. Man, he was our, disciplinary, person that we can go to for guidance. Easy to talk to. Very serious, especially about Islam and making sure, Islam was instilled in us. My grandfather is currently still the minister, out here. So he was very serious about us studying and, just growing a love for Islam and, being Muslim children growing up. And I just watched how he took care of the whole family and really like held the family on his shoulders from all levels. He was like really the rock of the family. When he spoke, everyone listened. He was the head of the table. So, just watching him, always wanted to be like him. Before I even knew who he was as a person in the nation, he was that to us. So when I grew to understand the work that he's put in for the Nation of Islam and currently is doing, it just only grew. And I was just so, fascinated by the stories. Even to this day, I ask, so what else, So I know he would tell us that when he came into the nation, he just came in, wanting to be a soldier. At the time, his minister was Abdul Kareem Muhammad in New York. And the captain was Captain Alpha Farrakhan. And he came in, trying to learn and just be the best soldier that he could be. And he when the minister at that time, the minister was coming back and forth to New York because he was traveling for his lectures and different things. That was back in the rebuilding stages of the Nation of Islam. My grandfather was just everywhere. He said a car for the brothers, they just pack up and go wherever the minister was going at the time, especially being that he was coming through New York. And one day, my grandfather was driving the Supreme Captain Mustafa and the minister in his Cadillac, yellow Cadillac he had back in the day. And the minister asked my grandfather, he asked, where were you the last meeting? I believe it was like a Savior's Day or something. He was like, Brother Minister, I was helping with security on the floor with the check post. And the minister said, no, sir. He says, wherever I am, I want you to be. And ever since then, that's when my grandfather became, was right there with the minister everywhere he went. At the time, my grandfather was on the road and my grandmother was left with my uncle, my aunt, and my mother. And I had two uncles and my aunt and my mother. So it was a sacrifice because my grandfather was on the road. He had to send money back, and so she was taken care of, and it was a big sacrifice for my family at the time because they just really, my mother, of course, and my uncles and aunts didn't understand, why their father's gone so much. And I'm sure it was a trial on my grandmother at the time, being that she was left back with all the children. So as he's telling me the story, just going on, traveling these different states with the minister, he said he got to maybe 5 to 10 years in, and the minister said to him, he said, you've always been steadfast, and Allah is obligated to give you children that are steadfast. And when my grandfather said that to us, he said, I never known Allah to be obligated to do anything. So when the minister told me that, that was like shocking and surprising. So you see your mother, this is him talking to us. You see your mother, you see your uncle, you see your father, sacrificing and doing these things, that's just, that's a reflection of what me and your grandmother, put in and, stayed, the sacrifices that we made for them and what they're making for you all. And that's how the legacy keeps going and going. And, my grandfather always talks about, the hereafter, and making sure our family keep this going, and just keep being soldiers and students for Muhammad, and always being humble and steadfast and be willing to sacrifice, just being a servant. And that spirit has always been instilled in me. And that's why I can say, even out, dealing with my friends and peers that's not in the nation, I've always been like a leader amongst my peers and kind of like an influencer, if that makes sense. But not because I speak very well or anything. I believe it's because the spirit and the heart that I have. I'm always like in a giving spirit and always want to see someone up. And it never sat right with me with people putting other people down or anything. So I would say that was a reflection of how my grandfather and my grandmother instilled in us.
And then I'll ask you this question. What are some of the valuable lessons that you've learned from your grandfather?
Sacrifice, principles, and discipline. He always talks about discipline. He says, when you have discipline and patience, you can go so far. When it's only when you think you know everything is when you fall. Sometimes people will give you enough rope for you to hang yourself with it if you take on the mindset of, I got it all or I got it. It's always something to be learned. And that's why I can say to this day, my grandfather, as him being older, he's still walking with the man to this day. And we talking 40 plus years later down the line, and that's just a blessing. So, he was never, a hypocrite in his words. Everything he said, he walked it and he did it to the T. And that I admire. And that's something that I can say that I carry with me. And,
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. And what would you say in regards to what would you say about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to millennials who may view this but may not fully understand the minister?
I would say, just look at the track record. Just look at everything he has accomplished and what he's produced, and look at the people around him, or in the work the work speaks for itself. Look at the people that call him their mentors and things. And some of the people that say that, some people look up to those people. So that's a huge thing, I always tell people, as far as like with the messenger, look at the men that he's produced. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X. Some people may not know about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Minister Farrakhan, but I'm sure they know about Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. Look at these great men, Martin Luther King. Look at these great men that has an impact on millions of people across the world. Look at who they're going to seek guidance out from. And to the more recent times, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, this man has called over 2 million black men to Washington, D.C., and he only called for 1 million. And there was no violence or anything of that sort to occur. It's hard to get 100 black people anywhere into an event or anything. So just imagine a man calling 1 million black men and over 2 million showing up. Or, squashing the beefs with the rappers and, different gangs and stuff in the world. And you got gang members and, big influencers in the world saying that he's their mentor. So if this is happening, you got to study the source. You'd have to look at, like I said in the beginning of the interview, lies are easily accepted in this time. They hold more weight, and, they're easier to say and stick. But the proof is in the pudding. You have to look at the man's work, and he hasn't turned his back on his people.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, my brother. And I'm enjoying this interview as others are enjoying this interview as well. We're coming up on our last portion, so we're going to pause for some of the last announcements, and then we'll be back to hear more of the interview with our brother Saad Muhammad.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Individually, we are poor when you compare us with white society in America. We are poor. Collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world with the exception of 9. That's power right there if we know how to prove it. We begin the process of building a greater economic base. And at the same time, we are putting pressure where it really hurts. We don't have to argue with anybody. We just need to go around to these stores and to these massive industries in our country. Say, God sent us by here to say to you that you're not treating His children right. And we come by here to ask you to make the first item on your agenda bad treatment where God's children are concerned. Now, if you're not prepared to do that, we do have an agenda that we must follow. And our agenda calls for withdrawing economic support from you. We mean business now, and we are determined to gain our rightful place in God's world.
AsiaticMinds.com. Online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. 2022 through 23 enrollment waiting list open now. Visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
We're back, brothers and sisters, to continue our interview with our brother Saad Muhammad. And I also noticed, my brother, that you show a lot of great respect and gratitude for your various male mentors that you have around the nation. You know,
Yes,
can
sir.
you share how their example and the guidance of these mentors have and continue to help you grow into manhood?
Yes, sir. I will first start off to say nobody's self-made. Everybody has a teacher or an influencer, and you know, I've had so many people that I can pull on and, you know, keep me around. Here locally in Charlotte, one particular brother Arjumon, the brother in the last picture on the far right, me and him used to roll, like still roll, like heavy. He kept me under the wing, under his wing. You know, we soldiered together. Um, you know, we broke bread together, and we just helped build the minds and bring the youth, and keep things rolling. We just had so many activities going, so I didn't have, time really to do anything, but go to school or work, and come back. He'll pick me up, took me to the gym, and nationally having different role models like Brother D9 and so many other people, just to lend a voice to keep me grounded and keep me going. I mean, of course, I have my grandfather, I have my stepfather, I have my father, to drop jewels on me. But sometimes you need to hear from someone else. I have my uncle. Sometimes you need to hear from other people, and those brothers really help pull me and showing the love that they demonstrated with me, I feel so obligated to do it with other brothers, coming in, or younger brothers under me, or even brothers my age. If I see them, leaning over, us as brothers, sometimes we lean over to the left or right a little bit. So that's when your brother's here to bump you right into place. Um, so just to be a reminder for my brothers and peers, that's always been on my heart, being at the love that they displayed for me, and bringing me under their wing. Uh, it kept me grounded, it kept me disciplined, it kept me focused. And, I'll never forget, those memories that we've made, building up, the nation, in our city. A lot of people may not ever get to meet the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan physically, but if they can say that they see Farrakhan through that person that they know, the mission is accomplished. So we made that a thing.
Beautiful, man. And as we get ready to close, this will be the last question. Like, I can imagine, man, like being this world has a pull even on adult Muslims, but I can imagine in regards as it relates to young Muslims. What advice or encouragement can you give to young Muslims who are still trying to get their footing in this teaching, in this way of life, man? That just can help them to not give up on themselves.
You have to accept your own and be yourself. Don't be so much into your head to where you're not in your body sometimes, if that makes sense. It has to be a balance in everything. Now, not a balance to, the laws are, on, talkable. Those are the guidelines we have to follow by. But you don't have to be, uptight. You can be yourself. Everybody, Allah made us all unique. He never made anything the exact same. Not even the leaves, not even a snowflake. So everybody has their own personality or own thing that makes them stand out, and that you just have to find what is yours. And it's okay to look up to someone or shape yourself after someone that you may admire, but you just have to take those bits and pieces from people and find how it fits you. So I feel like watching so many people, learning from so many different people, I took bits and pieces of their personality and character and just fit it into my overall personality and who I am. I that's who I am now. And I just encourage every, young brother or young sister, or even older brother, older sister, just find who you are. And seek out, things that attract you.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. And as we get ready to close, was there anything you wanted to share, but you may have not gotten a chance to share, either because you forgot or I didn't ask you the question? If so, you have the floor to do so now.
I would just like to say, well, first, appreciate you for allowing me on the show, to give this testimony and speak to, the world and the believers. I would just say, stay strong, keep the faith, and don't give up, and, stay focused on what you really want to do, and don't look at anyone and feel like that you're behind. Allah takes us all through our own trials and tribulations. Always keep a learning spirit, and don't think that you have it all. And when you see, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, you see others fall, don't laugh, learn. It's always lessons in this life. And God is going to take you through trials. We say that we believe, Allah is going to test us on that. When no one's looking at us, when we're not in the mosque meetings, or we're not in school, or we're not at work or wherever. So, keep your spirit high and keep up prayer, and that will keep you grounded. And just keep people around that's like-minded and striving just like you. And don't be afraid to seek out guidance from older, elder brothers or sisters, people that's more seasoned in this thing, and ask them how they survived so long, because they've been your age, and they've been older than you. So that's what I would say. That would be my advice. And to stay strong and keep the faith.
That's a beautiful wisdom, man. And I often share. My uncle told me that when he said, I've been your age and you have to grow to be my age. When I sat back and I thought about it, I was like, man, that is true. He's been 18, he's been 19, he's been 20. And I think if we understand that, just like you said, my brother, it will help us in this journey of life to trying to figure out, you know, where we fit in and understand this thing. So thank you, my brother. If I'm ever in Charlotte again, give the believers there, our brother, student minister Corey. I might swing by that gym, but I can't let you throw all that weight on me.
Yes, sir. We'll work in together.
Yes, sir. Together. So thank you all, man. Thank you, my brother. And may Allah continue to bless you, give your mother and your father and your family and your grandfather the greetings from me. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you tune in on next Sunday. And we thank you all for tuning into NNV News Network.
Go home and study. See, many of you don't study your religion. Go ahead. And you think you're going to attain something without study. But if you believe in something, you need to study it so you can become proficient in what you do. Now watch this. God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.